Your Honor, he even can't stay 1 minute.
I'm in my prime, Your Honor. I can't waste it on a man who can't keep up with me. Chad can go all night, literally all night. David was usually done in minutes if he could even finish at all. Those words echoed through the courtroom as Melissa, a confident nurse in her early 30s, stood before the judge explaining why she deserved everything in the divorce. She pointed at her husband David, introducing him to the court as just a hospital janitor, making minimum wage, who had severe performance issues in the bedroom. Her boyfriend Chad, an X-ray technician, sat in the gallery nodding supportively. Melissa smiled, thinking she had won. She had no idea that in less than 10 minutes, her entire world would collapse in the most public, humiliating way possible. What she said about her husband was cruel. What she didn't know about him would destroy her. Before we dive into this unbelievable story, let me ask you this. What would you do if someone you loved mocked your medical condition while cheating on you with your own employee? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you love stories of justice and karma, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss these incredible tales. David and Melissa had been married for 6 years. They met at the hospital where she worked as a nurse, and where he, according to her, was just a janitor who mopped floors and emptied trash bins. David was quiet, humble, drove an old Honda Civic, and lived in a modest 2-bedroom house in a middle-class neighborhood. He wore simple clothes, packed his lunch in a brown paper bag, and never talked about money. Melissa, on the other hand, loved designer purses, expensive brunches with her nurse friends, and constantly complained that David didn't make enough money. She told everyone who would listen that she had married beneath her station. Her friends agreed. After all, she was a medical professional with a nursing degree. He was just a janitor. She could do so much better. For the first 3 years, things were normal. Then David got sick. He started feeling pain and went to see a doctor. The diagnosis came back like a punch to the gut. Testicular cancer. He needed surgery immediately. They removed one testicle. The treatment affected his testosterone levels. His energy dropped. His performance in the bedroom changed. He was fighting cancer, managing treatments, and trying to keep his life together. He told Melissa everything. He was vulnerable with her. He thought his wife would support him through the hardest time of his life. Instead, she sent him a text message that read, "So you're basically half a man now." Great. David saved that text. He saved everything. 3 years after his diagnosis, Melissa started acting different. She came home late. She smiled at her phone constantly. She started wearing more makeup to work. Then one day, she sat David down and told him she wanted a divorce. No emotion, no tears, just cold facts. She said she had needs he couldn't meet anymore. She said she deserved better. She said she had found someone who could actually satisfy her. His name was Chad. He worked at the same hospital. He was an X-ray technician, making $58,000 a year. Melissa made it clear that Chad was better than David in every way that mattered, especially in the bedroom. She described their encounters in detail, knowing it would hurt David. She wanted him to feel worthless. David sat there and took it. He didn't yell. He didn't cry. He just nodded and said, "Okay." Melissa thought he was weak. She thought she had broken him. What she didn't know was that David was already 10 steps ahead of her. Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted completely? Someone you would have done anything for? Let me know in the comments below. Little did she know the truth was about to destroy her completely. The divorce proceedings started. Melissa's lawyer was confident. After all, her client was divorcing a minimum wage janitor. Even with a fair split, there wasn't much to fight over. A small house, one old car, maybe some savings. Melissa pushed for alimony, claiming she had supported David emotionally through his illness and deserved compensation. Her lawyer filed motions. David's lawyer, a sharp woman in an expensive suit, barely responded. She seemed almost amused. Melissa noticed but didn't think much of it. Why would a janitor be able to afford such a high-powered attorney? She figured maybe the lawyer was doing charity work or working for cheap. The court date arrived. Melissa dressed up, wearing her best outfit. Chad came to support her, sitting in the gallery like a proud boyfriend. David showed up in simple khakis and a button-down shirt, looking exactly like what Melissa had described, a humble janitor with nothing to his name. The judge asked standard questions: income, assets, liabilities. Melissa's lawyer presented her case. Melissa worked as a nurse, making $72,000 a year. She was a medical professional. David was just a janitor making minimum wage. She had been the breadwinner. She deserved more. Then Melissa decided to go off script. She wanted to humiliate David one more time. She started talking about his performance issues. She told the judge in explicit detail about David's medical condition and how it affected their intimate life. She compared him to Chad. She said things that made people in the courtroom shift uncomfortably in their seats. The judge warned her to stick to relevant testimony. Melissa ignored the warning. She was on a roll. She called David basically half a man. She said she had physical needs that he simply couldn't meet. She painted a picture of a broken, inadequate husband who had failed her in every possible way. David sat quietly, his face expressionless. His lawyer didn't object. She just smiled slightly and took notes. When Melissa finally finished her speech, the judge looked annoyed. Then David's lawyer stood up. She walked to the front of the courtroom carrying a folder. She didn't look at Melissa. She looked directly at the judge. "Your Honor," she began calmly, "my client's wife has made several statements today that are not only cruel but factually misleading. She introduced my client as a janitor making minimum wage." "That's technically true, but incomplete," Melissa frowned. "What was this woman talking about?" The lawyer continued. "David works as a janitor at Community General Hospital 1 day per week. Every Saturday, he mops floors, empties trash, and cleans bathrooms alongside the custodial staff. He makes minimum wage for those 8 hours. However, that's not his primary occupation." The courtroom went silent. You could hear people holding their breath. What happened next would change everything. The lawyer opened her folder. David's family founded Community General Hospital in 1967. His grandfather started it. His father expanded it. David inherited controlling ownership when his father passed away 12 years ago. Community General Hospital is currently valued at $670 million. David owns 78% of it. His annual income from hospital operations, investments, and real estate holdings is approximately $47 million per year. Melissa's face went white. Chad's mouth fell open. The judge leaned forward. The lawyer wasn't done. David works as a janitor 1 day per week because his grandfather instilled a philosophy of staying humble and connected to all levels of staff. He doesn't broadcast his ownership. Most employees don't know. He believes in understanding every role in his hospital. The X-ray technician that Mrs. David has been having an affair with? That's David's employee. Mrs. David herself, also David's employee. Their relationship violated hospital ethics policies, requiring disclosure of romantic relationships between staff members. Both are subject to termination. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged the gavel. Melissa tried to speak, but no words came out. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to disappear. Chad stood up from the gallery and walked straight out of the courtroom. He knew his job was finished, but it gets worse for Melissa. So much worse. If you're hooked on this story of epic revenge, smash that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the ending. The lawyer pulled out more documents. "Regarding Mrs. David's claims about my client's medical condition and performance issues, let's address those. 3 years into their marriage, David was diagnosed with testicular cancer. He underwent surgery to remove 1 testicle. The treatment affected his testosterone levels. He was open with his wife about this diagnosis. He showed her vulnerability during the scariest time of his life." The lawyer then pulled out printed text messages. She read them aloud. "So you're basically half a man now?" "Great," another text. "I didn't sign up to be married to someone broken." Another. "Maybe if you were a real man, I wouldn't be looking elsewhere." 47 texts total. All from Melissa to David, all mocking his cancer, all saved as evidence. The judge's expression turned from shock to disgust. She looked at Melissa like she was something stuck to the bottom of a shoe. The lawyer continued. "My client has been undergoing treatment and therapy for a medical condition while running a hospital system worth hundreds of millions of dollars while his wife mocked his diagnosis and committed adultery with his employee. We're requesting full division of marital assets in my client's favor and a restraining order preventing Mrs. David from contacting my client." Melissa finally found her voice. "I don't remember sending those texts," she stammered. "We have phone records, cloud backups, and metadata," the lawyer replied smoothly. "We also have security footage from the hospital showing you and Mr. Chad leaving work together multiple times while both clocked in. Time card fraud. That's a felony in this state. Would you stay silent if someone mocked your cancer diagnosis, or would you confront them immediately? Drop your answer in the comments." The judge didn't deliberate long. She awarded David everything: the house, the cars, all assets. She issued a restraining order. She also recommended the case be forwarded to the hospital's ethics board and the state nursing board. Melissa left the courtroom in tears, her lawyer refusing to even look at her. She had walked in confident and victorious. She left destroyed, but the consequences were just beginning. 2 weeks later, the hospital's ethics board convened. David recused himself from the decision to avoid conflict of interest. The board reviewed the evidence. Melissa and Chad had been having an affair for over a year. They had falsified time cards repeatedly, clocking in and then leaving together to go to hotels during work hours. They had stolen time and wages from the hospital. The board voted unanimously. Both terminated immediately for ethics violations and time card fraud. Melissa lost her job. Then the state nursing board got involved. They reviewed the ethics violation: falsifying medical records, time theft, and unprofessional conduct. They suspended her nursing license for 2 years. 2 years without the ability to work as a nurse. Her career, the thing she had been so proud of, the thing she had used to look down on David, was gone. Chad moved to another state within a month. He found work at a smaller clinic, making less money. He wanted nothing to do with Melissa. He had thought she was divorcing a broke janitor, and he could swoop in and play hero. When he found out the truth, when he realized he had lost his job because of an affair with the owner's wife, he disappeared from her life completely. Melissa tried to reach out to David. She sent messages through friends. She tried calling from different numbers. She sent letters. All of them said the same thing. She was sorry. She made a mistake. She didn't understand. She wanted another chance. David never responded, not once. His lawyer sent a single reply through official channels: "Do not contact my client again. The restraining order is in effect. Any further attempts will result in legal consequences." Just when she thought it couldn't get worse, reality set in. Melissa couldn't work as a nurse. She had bills to pay. She started applying for other jobs. But the ethics violation followed her. Hospitals wouldn't touch her. Clinics turned her down. Even nursing homes passed. Everyone in the medical community knew what she had done. Finally, she found work as a home health aide. $16 an hour. No benefits. Driving from house to house, taking care of elderly patients. The job she had looked down on her entire career was now her only option. The woman who had mocked her husband for being just a janitor was now making less money than he did during his 1 day a week of janitorial work. Meanwhile, David's life improved dramatically. He underwent testosterone replacement therapy. His doctors found the right treatment plan. His energy returned. His health stabilized. He recovered fully from the effects of his cancer treatment. 2 years after the divorce, he started dating again. He met someone through the hospital, an oncologist who had been part of his treatment team. She had watched him fight cancer with grace and strength. She knew his character. They fell in love naturally, built on mutual respect and understanding. They got married in a small private ceremony. Because of David's medical history, they chose IVF to ensure the best chance of success. It worked. They now have 2 healthy children. David's life is full of love, respect, and genuine partnership. If you were in David's position, what would you have done differently? Would you have revealed the truth earlier, or let karma play out? Tell me in the comments below. Melissa's nursing license was eventually reinstated after 2 years, but her reputation never recovered. The ethics violation was public record. Every job application required disclosure. Most places wouldn't hire her. She bounced between low-paying medical assistant jobs and home health aide positions. The last known information about her showed she was making $16 an hour, living paycheck to paycheck, her designer bags sold off to make rent. The woman who said she needed a real man who could perform had lost everything because she couldn't perform basic human decency. Here's the truth that Melissa learned too late. Character isn't about how much money someone appears to make or what job title they hold. It's about how they treat people when times get hard. David could have flaunted his wealth. He could have lived in a mansion and driven luxury cars. Instead, he chose humility. He chose to understand every level of his organization. He chose to stay grounded. And when his wife mocked him during the hardest time of his life, when she betrayed him with his own employee, he didn't lash out. He documented everything. He let her dig her own grave with her cruelty. Then he simply told the truth. Melissa thought she was trading up. She thought Chad, making $58,000 a year as an X-ray tech, was better than David the janitor. She had no idea she was leaving a man worth hundreds of millions of dollars. But even if David had been actually poor, her actions would have been equally cruel. Mocking someone's cancer diagnosis is evil, regardless of their bank account. Cheating is betrayal whether your spouse is rich or poor. She didn't lose because David was secretly wealthy. She lost because she was fundamentally a terrible person. The courtroom recordings went semi-viral in legal circles. Lawyers tell the story as a cautionary tale about assumptions and discovery. Hospital administrators use it in ethics training about workplace relationships. Nursing students hear it as a warning about professional conduct. Melissa became an example of what not to do, a legend of self-destruction. David never spoke publicly about the divorce. He never gave interviews. He just continued living his life with quiet dignity, the same way he always had. He runs his hospital system. He works his Saturday janitorial shift. He goes home to a wife who loves him and children who adore him. He won not by being flashy or seeking revenge, but by being exactly who he always was, a good man with strong character who stayed humble even when he had every right to be proud. Sometimes the best revenge isn't elaborate planning or dramatic confrontation. Sometimes it's just living well, while the truth speaks for itself. Melissa wanted a real man who could perform. She had one all along. She just couldn't see him because she was too busy looking down. By the time she looked up and saw who he really was, it was far too late. She had already lost everything that mattered. If you love this story of justice and karma coming full circle, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss these incredible true tales. Drop a like if you think David handled this perfectly. Comment below with your thoughts on what Melissa got wrong. And stick around because I've got more stories of people who underestimated the wrong person and paid the ultimate price. Thanks for watching, and remember, treat people with respect regardless of their job title. You never know who you're really dealing with.